Hi, I'm Greg Lothian, and I'm going to talk to you about three things today. One, about setting your health and fitness goals. Two, about figuring out where you should start from. And three, I'm going to talk to you about the only true golden key to get you from point A to point B. Before we get into anything, I'll give you a little bit of background about myself. I'm an athletic therapist. I have been for over 15 years. And when I tell people that, oftentimes the first remark is, oh, you work with athletes. The short answer is no, we don't just work with athletes. Our jobs primarily are to take people that are injured, and doesn't matter the severity of the injury, and bring them all the way back up to the highest level of performance to be able to compete on a field. So if you're watching a game on TV, somebody gets injured, oftentimes an athletic therapist that runs out, that's when our job starts, and we take them from that injury day back to onto the field and being able to compete. As a consequence, it doesn't really matter where you fit on that spectrum. All of us, on the inside at least, are some sort of athlete, whether it's daily activities that we do and just daily life activities, or if we get involved in more advanced stuff. Everything that you do during the day involves some type of movement, some type of skill. And so it doesn't matter where you start from and where you're going, you fit along there in the spectrum. So I work with a lot of just regular population and help them to get from that point A to point B. So we'll talk first about goal setting. Goal setting is really, really important. It's actually it's going to be a key to finding, at least a partial key to finding success in what you want to do, is to have an end goal. Just to go off and start something just to start it, oftentimes will just get derailed because it's not prioritized. When you set yourself a goal, it tends to be more of a priority and something to look forward to. So what goals should you set? Well, you got to look at a few different things. One is, what does your daily life consist of? So you work construction, you work in an office, you love to garden. Any of the activities that you do, you have to put that together, have a look at it, and figure out, at least as a portion, what skills are involved in doing those activities. And I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. The second thing is health goals. So if you want to lose weight, then you should build yourself a marker. If you know you need to lose 30 pounds, then keep that in mind, that number in mind. And then the third thing is, if there are things that you can't do today that you want to be able to do, let's say you want to run a 10K or an Ironman or do American Ninja Warrior, it doesn't really matter what you want to do. But if you want to do something that you feel that you have to prepare for, obviously that is going to fit into what your end goals are. And it'll also help us piece together what skills you need to learn to be able to get there. So now, for me, it's really important that we look at all that stuff, especially even the daily living stuff, because oftentimes what happens, and probably this has happened to you at some point in your life, you start to do something, you know that you need to exercise, and a lot of people push themselves too hard and then they get injured. So maybe you're not doing the right things, because if you're not doing the things that are appropriate for your daily living to make your daily living better or to get you to a goal, then it's a bit of a waste of time, to be honest. So we'll put that aside. We'll table it for a second. We know what activities, and you can write these down. You can pause it and write these down if you want. What activities you do on a daily basis and what you want to be able to do. Then we got to figure out where you're going to start from. And this is specifically to avoid injury as well. If we know exactly where you want to start from, then it's relatively easy to piece together what we're going to do in between. So what I've done, if you click below, you'll see it says APA, the Athletic Progression Aid. I put together a quick assessment of movement and a couple of questions. And what the APA does is it gives you a score relative to two things. One is how high risk you are for injury, and two is where you fit on the natural athlete scale. Like I said before, we're all athletes on the inside. Doesn't matter what you look like on the outside or how you feel. If you're recreational or just starting out, a beginner athlete, that's fine, or right up to high performance. So the APA will help to scale you, figure out where you are on that scale. And then the other thing that's really important is what aches and pains that you are dealing with on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis, and the things that you're worried about. So I'm going to offer you two things here. When you do the APA, it'll give you a score, and then you can write down, and you're going to write this down in an email. Again, there's a link below to email me. You sign up to the list so that you can get access to my email. And you'll email me directly with your score from your APA and some of the injuries and things that you've been dealing with. The other thing I want you to include in the email is what your daily activities are and what the things are that you want to be able to do. I'll have a look at that. I'm not going to charge you for this. I'll have a look at that, and I'll figure out where you should be starting from and what things you should be doing to get you to where you want to go. I have a system that I've designed that I'm making public. I actually designed it primarily to work with my clients, to facilitate them to be able to work on their own. I believe that people should be as independent as possible. So I've designed a system called skill-based strength training, and what it does is it'll look at, I'll give you some guidelines as to what skills I believe you need to do. So let's say I tell you to achieve your goals, you need to be able to squat very well. Now, just learning how to squat may put you at risk for injury because your body might not be ready to do that. So what I've done is, I put together a program that's called Building Blocks, and the Building Blocks program is to take all the little segments of your body that make up the movement of a squat, make sure they're strong, make sure the tendons are ready to take on resistance and move well and keep your joints stable. And then once you go from there, and you practice the building blocks for a while, then we teach you the skill itself, and your body will be better prepared for that, and you'll be able to train and keep moving yourself forward with less risk for injury. So everything that we do, everything that you want to do is made up of various different skills, and so I can tell you, when you email me all this information, what I'll do is I'll look it over, and I'll tell you where you should start, whether it's building blocks or even before the building blocks. There's a whole segment of stuff that I do called fundamentals that'll teach you all the stuff you need to know before you start. So I'll tell you start and what skills you should be doing to be able to, or working towards and practicing to get you to where you want to be. And you can take that information free and just bring it to, if you work with a personal trainer, hopefully somebody that's highly trained, that really knows what they're talking about, bring that information to them or bring it to somebody new and start working with that. Or we can go back and forth and I'll give you an opportunity to get involved with the system that I'm using and make sure that it's affordable. The one obstacle that people do reach in trying to get quality service, and one of the other reasons why I created the system that I did, is working with a professional one-on-one can get expensive quickly. So all that in mind, I want to talk about the one true golden key to getting yourself from A, right where you're starting today, to B. Now, the media will tell you all kinds of different things, that you have to do this, and you have to do interval training, and you have to do that. The reality is if you figure out where you're starting and where you're going, that will dictate what you have to do. So if somebody tells you you have to do interval training, that may not be appropriate for you, depending on the injuries that you have and what's going on. The one thing that will definitely bring everybody, including you, from where you are today to where you want to be is the simplest and hardest thing that you'll ever do. And the reason I say it's the simplest and hardest thing is because our lives tend to be very busy. I have 3 kids, and things get derailed very easily sometimes. We have to have some sort of safety net to keep us going. That safety net is accountability. Being accountable for yourself and for the things that you want to achieve on an everyday basis is the only thing that's going to bring you from point A to point B. It's one of the things that I look for when I screen for clients to work with. It's one of the things that I have expectations of myself. And every day I strive to be as accountable as I can to myself. One of the other reasons why I say it's the easiest and hardest things that you'll ever do is because it's the easiest because all of the information is there, full access to it all the time. You know exactly what's going on with you, you know exactly what you're eating, you know exactly when you're exercising and when you're not. The reason it's the hardest is, again, because life can get in the way, we tend to lose focus, and we tend to be able to table all of our personal goals, the things we want to achieve, and place other people in front of them. Now, I have 3 kids, and I know that it's extremely important. We have to provide everything we can for them, and the reality is, if you're not accountable for yourself, and you're not being the person that you need to be able to be, there are going to be times that you're not going to be able to provide that for the people that you love because you're not taking care of yourself. So keep this in mind. I have a motto that I try and get everybody to jump on board with. It's a very simple motto. You don't have to train every day, but you do have to train today. Now, that motto sounds simple enough, and to some people, when I tell them that, they react like, well, that just sounds like I'm going to exercise every day. There's actually a philosophy behind the motto. When you say to yourself every morning that I don't need to train every day, what you are talking about is the past. Don't beat yourself up for the things that happened yesterday. If you got derailed, things happened, emergencies came up, and you couldn't do the things that you were supposed to do that day for yourself, forget about it. It's yesterday. It doesn't matter. Don't let it bring you down. So you don't have to train every day is talking about the past. Talking about what is happening right now, you do have to train today. You have to make it a priority. You say this motto to yourself first thing in the morning, and you figure out when it is today that you're going to realistically get the things done that you need to get done. And what I want you to do is say this to yourself every morning when you wake up. Now, not every day do you have half an hour, an hour, an hour and a half to do the things that you want to do. Maybe you're training for an Ironman, and that's a ton of volume of training there. You might not have that every day. If you have to train every day, it means maybe you go for a 20-minute walk because that's all you had time for today. That's fine. You just have to do something. You have to keep yourself moving. It's like when people are struggling to get themselves through things, all they have to say to themselves is keep putting one foot in front of the other. That's what you're doing with this motto, is you're making sure that every day you're doing something for yourself. Okay? So, wrapping up, what I want you to do the APA. Give yourself an idea of how high risk you are for injury. It's a little back and shoulder centered. It's also, I'm not working one-on-one with you, so it's an estimation of these things. The other thing is it gives you, like I said before, where you are on the natural athlete scale. Copy and paste that into an email to me. The other thing you're going to include in that email is the injuries that you're dealing with now, the aches and pains that come and go as well. The third thing you're going to put in there, what your daily activities are and what things you want to be able to do. I'm going to look over that information. I'm going to send it back to you, telling you where I think you should start and what skills specifically I think you should be working on. And if your goal is really weight loss, I'll tell you what sort of things you need to be seeking out to achieve what you need to be able to achieve. Okay? Remember, you don't have to train every day, but you do have to train today.